Buenos días, buenas tardes, y buenas noches. Bonjour, bonsoir. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Jay Slater case. Finally got a chance to listen attentively to the Debbie Duncan interview, the latest one on, I believe it's called This Morning on ITV. It happened yesterday or the day before. Yesterday, I think. Um, And I wanted to pick up on a few things that Debbie said, and I also wanted to pick up on a few things that well, she didn't say, but the guy she was sitting next to, this kind of wet blanket crossed with a weasel creature, I think he's called Ross Miller of Missing People CEO. What a damp squib he is. Good Lord. The chances of him being the life and soul of the party, virtually zero. But yeah, I want to rip into Ross Miller because he said something quite alarming that I think we all need to fight, by the way. So yeah, it was a double act. Sarah Smith has been sacked by the looks of it. I mean, the great MP was not there. I find that interesting. As always, Zach not there. The brother of Jay has nothing to say in this situation. Warren, Jay's father, has nothing to say in this situation. It is very much the Debbie Duncan crusade, and it's not going very well. So she's roped in this Ross Miller girl's blouse to sit with her, and it wasn't a great tag team. It didn't go well, I don't think. But I'm going to highlight where I think it didn't go well. Number one, I think Debbie handled the question of people like us questioning what kind of person she is and what kind of family Jay's family were. She handled it really badly. She said, as examples of the very worst abuse that she's been getting, because she was basically asked, what kind of what kind of vile trolls have been saying what about you? And she said, some have been calling me drug dealer or my family full of drug dealers. Well, let's address that. To my knowledge, no one I know, I haven't come across anyone that has called Debbie Duncan a drug dealer. And I've not come across anyone that's called her family drug dealers. So it could be that this particular beef that Debbie Duncan has with the world, with the vile troll, tragedy troll, online troll world, is nothing to do with us. These, I'm imagining, could be local people that have put notes through a letterbox saying, "Yeah, bloody drug dealers," or something like that. I don't know. Certainly not me, certainly not us, not our community. On the other hand, we have raised questions. We have speculated that is there a family drug connection going on in the background? A perfectly normal question to ask when we already have the evidence, the photographic evidence of Jay doing balloons a few years ago. Yeah. And we also have, of course, the toxicology report, which made it clear Jay was a very heavy user, at least at the time that he died. And it is a fair question to say, does that come from a family past? Is there a family here that's enabling this? It would certainly seem like there is not a family that has managed to stop any drug use by Jay, and those are legitimate points to be made. But I don't think anyone on our side has ever concluded that Debbie must be a drug dealer or that the family are. So, that first thing she mentioned, I don't see it as being connected to what we in our community have said. Then she went on to say these vile trolls have mentioned that Jay had a bad upbringing. Well, I don't think it's a vile troll that says Jay looks like he had a bad upbringing. I think it is probably most people, and that's why the Jay's Law petition is such a failure, because most people can see that. I'm sorry, but I just don't see how you can look at the toxicology report of Jay, how you can look at the friends Jay was mixing with in Tenerife, how you can look at the mother. Yes, the mother, Debbie Duncan, who gave the green light. Jay's Uncle Glenn saying, get out there and get some fun under your belt. During the time Jay's community service was still being served. Now, I do think it's a bad upbringing when the mother says, don't worry about this community order against you. Yeah? Judge Parry, what does he know? You've got this community order. You've done most of it. I would say go and have a narco binge fest in Tenerife, my boy. You see, I'm one of those that says that's probably not a good example of a good upbringing. And I do think it's probably a sign that there's a bad upbringing there. Now, for those of us that observe that, and these are all facts, the community order was not completed. Debbie gave the thumbs up. Jay ended up in a narco fest and dead. Those of us that see that then question the upbringing of Jay. But apparently we're bad for doing that. This is the world we live in. Debbie Duncan world. It is not reality. Reality is people will look at what they see and say, this probably means a bad upbringing. It may not. But in the absence of evidence to the contrary, a whole slew of wonderful accomplishments that Jay had, fostered by a very loving, caring, and supremely well, let's say, adjusted family, in absence of evidence to the contrary, we tend to think there's a bad upbringing here. We may be wrong, but we have every right to speculate in such a way. Debbie says it just got really personal. Yes. Yes, Debbie, it does get really personal. Those of us that have been the victims of targeted attacks, personal attacks, very personal attacks, we know all about it, Debbie. So yeah, it does get personal. Join the club, Debbie Duncan, join the club. Debbie says they don't know us. They don't know our family. And they didn't know Jay. Well, we don't know everything about you, Debbie. We don't know everything about your family. No, and we don't know everything about Jay. But we do know enough, I believe, facts from what we've heard, what we've been told, and what you've confirmed to lead us to certain conclusions. And the facts we have been told, I go back to that community order where Judge Parry said Jay deserved to be locked up custodial sentence behind bars, effectively. He said that. That's a fact. We do take that fact and we do say that we know a certain amount about Jay's past. Again, we have the photographic evidence. We can see what kind of friends he was mixing with. We can see the end result, what happened in Tenerife, sadly. There's a lot we can see, Debbie, and from what we can see, we make certain judgments, and those judgments seem to be valid. In the absence of any evidence to the contrary, I think we can see enough to make a judgment call. That's all we're doing. We are allowed to do that, and we will continue to do that. Point number 3 that Debbie makes, she says so many families rely on GoFundMes now. I didn't know that. Now, let us assume that Debbie means so many families who have missing kids or, missing members of the family. People go missing. So many of those families rely on GoFundMes now. I didn't know that. I actually don't know if the Nathan Osmond family, Brett Dryden family, Josh Rogers family, I don't actually know if they also have GoFundMes. I don't know. But I think Debbie's missing the point here. It's not the GoFundMe that is a problem. Many, many people that watch this channel, many people that abide by what I say, they donated. They were happy with giving to a GoFundMe. So when Debbie says so many families rely on a GoFundMe now, I don't think we really have a problem with that notion. If that is true, so many families rely on a GoFundMe, that's fine. It does bring into question why Rach said we don't need a GoFundMe. It seems that Rach and Debbie really need to battle this one out. We have Debbie saying so many families rely on a GoFundMe. We have Rach saying a GoFundMe is not needed. So maybe these two need to get together and discuss that matter. But for me, I don't have a problem with the GoFundMe. It's all fine if it's transparent. And this is where Debbie has a very big problem with transparency. Because here are Debbie's words concerning the GoFundMe. She said, we were really transparent with the people at GoFundMe. We were really transparent with the people at GoFundMe. That's the problem. You needed to be transparent, Debbie, with the people that were so generous that gave their hard-earned money to you. Being transparent with the GoFundMe organizers isn't what is needed here. It is transparency with the public, with the people that donated, with those that are invested in the J. Slater case. You need to be transparent with them. We're nearly 2 years into this. And I've said this a million times. It takes just 5 minutes on the back of an envelope. You hold it up and say, this is where the donations went. To the people, to the masses, to the ordinary Joe Blow in the street. They are the ones that deserve 5 minutes of your time, Debbie, to be transparent to the people, not to the GoFundMe organizers. Saying that everything's fine by them doesn't wash with us. We just need a little breakdown. So, for example, when Glody and Rocky are talking and Rocky produces what looks like a bona fide Facebook message from you, Debbie Duncan, saying 52,000 went to pay the searchers, that is something you need to explain. If you choose not to explain it, that's fine. But for the rest of your living days, you'll have people say, where did all that money go? This is a simple trade-off. You can keep it a secret, but for the rest of your life, have people doubting you and your word and being very suspicious about what you did with that money. Or you spend 5 minutes, write out a little list of where all the money went, hold it up to the world, and everyone's happy. This situation, Debbie, has a very, very simple solution. You are never going to get someone like me offering this simple solution to you from the likes of Ross Miller, Missing People CEO, from the likes of Chris Pennington, Searcher Extraordinaire, from the likes of Ed Balls, from the likes of This Morning, ITV. You are never going to get that easy solution proposed to you. Because none of them, not one of them, Debbie Duncan, understands how the GoFundMe riled up so many people that gave and then found that you were being less than transparent. This is the problem you face. The masses involved here, all of those people that have refused to sign Jay's law petition, are very suspicious of you for good reason. I had one person say that people like me need to put ourselves in Debbie Duncan's shoes. I'm quite willing to put my feet in Debbie Duncan's shoes. But I'm not the one with the problem. I'm not the one claiming I had a nervous breakdown. I'm not the one claiming I'm being targeted by trolls aplenty, although occasionally I am. I don't have an issue with that. Debbie Duncan says she does. So I would have thought it's the person with the issue of the tragedy trolling, the online trolling, the trolling, would do something, anything, to get the trolls off her back. 5 minutes noting down on the back of an envelope where all the GoFundMe funds went would help enormously. Not me, but you, Debbie. But you. I question why you don't do that. I question why you refuse to do that. Because the only reason I can think you refuse to do it is because something darn suspicious happened to all those funds. Something that is fine by the GoFundMe organizers. Oh, you and they are buddies. Another little tag team, GoFundMe organizers. They give us the green light. We're fine. Don't tell the public anything. We get it. But it doesn't help your cause. Let me move on to Ross Miller. Oh, no, hang on. Sorry. One last thing. It was mentioned in this interview, the man interviewing, he said to Debbie, you aren't being paid to be here. Yeah. For once, the interviewer wanted to make it perfectly clear that Debbie was not being paid to be there. This is interesting because this issue hasn't come up before. Only the likes of me have said, isn't it odd that people like me that don't make a penny out of this, but put in many hours a day, are called grifters, when the Truth is, the biggest grifter out there is Kerching Debbie Duncan, that I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, assume has made money out of her son's death. I don't believe, although I don't know, I don't believe the whole documentary was done for free, that Debbie didn't get reimbursed for any of that. I believe Candor Productions would have paid Debbie Duncan. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be proved wrong. It's just something I assume. But again, transparency is important. If Debbie Duncan received nothing for that documentary, it would be good to know where Candor Productions donated something to a charity of Debbie's choice. Again, no transparency, no information, suspicions aplenty. Welcome to the real world. But it was made clear that for this particular interview, Debbie was not paid. I listened attentively at this point because I thought, here's the moment where Debbie's going to say she hasn't been paid for anything. It didn't happen. Here's what we didn't hear. We didn't hear Debbie Duncan say, and neither was I paid for my appearance with Ed Balls and Susanna whatever. Yeah? And neither was I paid for my Telegraph interview with Camilla Tominey. And neither was I paid for any interview done with The Sun or The Mirror or any newspaper. And neither was I paid for any documentary made by Candor Productions. And neither was I paid for... We didn't hear that. Conspicuous by its absence, anything, any declaration from Debbie Duncan that she has not been paid a dime by anyone else involved media-wise in the Jay Slater story. We didn't hear that. Now, does that mean that absence of, I didn't get paid by any of these people, does that mean she did get paid by those people? No, it doesn't. But again, it would be very simple just to say, in Debbie's situation, very simple to say, I have not been paid a penny by anyone for any interview or any media appearance, ever connected with Jay Slater. Very easy to say. Takes 5 seconds. I just said it. Why have we not heard that? Why have we not heard her say that? I would suggest because she has been paid. And I would suggest she made a point this time of stressing that she has not been paid for the This Morning appearance because she knows that is a criticism that has been made on my channel and many others. Which indicates she is watching, she is listening, she is taking the criticism on board. Hallelujah! Making progress. Keep listening, Debbie Duncan, because people like me have some very good advice for you. Push aside the Lord Lugworms, El Slugtardo, Ivor Lovelace, Chris Pennington, and all the other cronies that have misled you all the way. Start listening to the people you perceive at the moment as your enemy, because in fact, had you listened to us from day one, you'd be in a much better position right now. But you've rejected the wrong team, you've backed the wrong horse, you've boxed yourself into a corner, and now you have to go on live TV to say, I'm not getting paid for this. You should have done that from day one, had you followed the right advice. But you didn't. Now you're in a mess. Now you're having to say, I'm not getting paid, I'm not getting paid, I'm not getting paid. Am I looking okay? Is that okay? It's not transparent enough, Debbie, but you're on the right course. Keep listening. Now we turn to the weasel. What a pillock. Ross Miller, Missing People's CEO. This is what he had to say. He said, we want to make sure that social media companies, and we're talking about the aim of Jay's Law and what he and Debbie want out of this whole tragedy troll thing, we want to make sure that social media companies are compelled to take down, you ready for this? Take down negative comments. Negative comments. Who's going to be the judge of the negative comment? Well, Debbie's hair looks a little bit off today. Oops, negative comment. Take that comment down, YouTube. TikTok, get rid of that account. He said Debbie doesn't look very nice. Negative comment. Come on, Ross Miller. Negative comments is the heart and soul of free speech, you pillock. Take down negative comments. Dream on, Weasel Boy. Let me give you the full context. Take down negative comments if families and the police request them to do that. All right. So, for example, I say, I think Debbie Duncan is lying. That's what I think. That's my impression. Body language, compared to previous statements, demeanor, lack of evidence. I conclude, in my opinion, I make a negative comment. I think Debbie Duncan is lying. Now, Ross Weasel Miller, he says, okay, family, Duncan Slater family, they don't like my comment. Yeah. And police, oh, the police don't like that negative comment either. They're both very much against that negative comment. Family and police agree. They then request, let's say, YouTube to take that comment down, to remove that comment. And what was the word? Compelled. The social media company is compelled to do so. So this union of family, yeah, doesn't say grieving family, by the way. I guess any family, and a police request. But it's not really a request, because if it's a request and it goes through, the company's compelled to do it. So it's an order. Family and police order social media company to remove that comment, and the social media company must do it. Now, at the moment, and this was mentioned in the interview, it is violent threats that must be removed. I think we all understand that. You know, if, for example, someone is out there making some horrendous violent threat direct to Debbie Duncan or family, that, of course, has to be removed, surely. Or illegal harassment, however you pronounce it. Sure. And I do believe that social media companies, when such language and behavior is reported, take action to the best of their ability. But let me repeat, Debbie Duncan and Weasel Miller, any negative comment, families and the police request, must be taken down. All of a sudden, the People's Republic of North Korea is looking like a bastion of free speech to me. If Weasel Miller and Debbie Deluded Duncan get their way, an absolute disaster of an interview for those that can see through this facade of pretense. It's absolutely very damaging pretense that these people are putting up here. The pretense is we want space for a grieving family. But the language they use is, you say something negative about us, your comments get removed, social media platforms have to act. Very, very dangerous territory. I will leave it there. More to say, not necessarily on this interview, but on this Ross Miller guy, because his name also appeared at the end of the Mirror article that called me the gloating troll and got me removed from YouTube. I've got more to say on Ross Miller. In fact, him and Shane Yerrill, I think we need to save them for a Sunday roast. Long overdue a Sunday roast, but I think Ross Miller and Shane Yerrill are well due a damn good roasting. Let's do that at some point. I will say hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time.